I got a job on the buy side today. You may ask which role. Most people after investment banking go to private equity. Some may go to hedge funds, or in the past 2, 3 years, for example, private credit has really took off. And that's actually where I just received an offer. I'm also waiting to hear back from a private equity firm, which I conducted 5 interviews and a case study with as well. The headhunter at the private credit firm told me that they'll pay low to mid 200K for total comp. So probably around 220. Some might be in the form of carry, but it's usually just like salary of around K, 150K, and then the rest is bonus. It's pretty typical in the industry. Most private equity firms in New York pay around 230K. I'm speaking with the CEO of the firm tomorrow to sort out the exact details. And the private equity firm that I'm waiting to hear back from pays 180 to 220K. That's what the headhunter for that firm told me, which is below market, but the firm has much better work-life balance than most firms. So that's the trade-off, you could say. But given that I have an offer, I'm pretty confident I can negotiate for the higher end of that range, if not potentially even make them go a bit beyond their normal range. So yeah, things are looking good right now. The private credit firm, what they do, okay, so they lend to fintechs. So, for example, Square, as many people know, or now Block, as they're renamed, will lend to businesses that use their point of sale product if those businesses need credit for whatever reason. But they don't hold all of that credit risk on their own books. So if someone defaults, they won't necessarily be taking those losses because they securitize it and sell it to multiple investors. But in this case, the private credit firm, it's a single lender directly providing capital in advance of the fintech's loans to the consumers or small businesses. The private equity firm, on the other hand, invests also in the fintech space and other companies in the financial sector. And after a few years, in terms of the opportunity for me, I would be on the board of multiple of their portfolio companies. Many of their portfolio companies, or a few that can be achieved at the senior associate level, even more at the VP and above levels. Let me re-say that. So the private equity firm also invests in the fintech space and other companies in the financial sector. And in terms of the sort of upside that you could see there is after a few years, I would be on the board of multiple portfolio companies of the private equity firm. Once you get to senior associate level, you start becoming on the board, and VP and above, it's even more companies. So that's a sort of I guess, a pro, you could say, of that opportunity. And after receiving my private credit offer, I emailed the private equity firm and asked them to streamline my decision on my candidacy. And I also emphasized that they're my top choice and I would accept an offer if given. So that sort of gets them moving to say, okay, this is a highly valued candidate. Maybe the candidate also really likes us as a firm, potentially could get them to give a competing offer, and then I can use those two to negotiate and get an even higher pay. The credit shop, on the other hand, the upside you could say is that it's a smaller firm. So there's a lot of upside because they're growing very rapidly and the people are very intelligent and unorthodox. So I think it would be a very dynamic experience. However, it is in San Francisco, whereas the private equity firm is in San Diego. Now, I hate San Francisco. It's my least favorite city in the country. And I love San Diego. It was basically my favorite city in the country until I moved to New York. I think both are pretty comparable, but in very different ways. Honestly, given both work in the financial space, pay is going to be probably pretty similar. This is the largest deciding factor is location. So for that reason, if the PE firm gave me an offer, I would accept as long as it's on the higher end of their compensation range. The P shop, so also I mentioned it has good work-life balance, and whereas the credit shop is like fast growing, while it may not be a sweatshop like the investment bank I worked at, it'll probably be more demanding. So that's even another thing to consider. Either way, I'll keep you guys posted and updated and let you know what I decide. From a life perspective, I know I mentioned finance is a safe way to get rich by your mid-30s, and I want to take risk to get rich when I'm young. But then you might say, well, okay, then why did you say you're recruiting for the buy side then? And part of it is also I want to build up my wealth for 2 more years so I can buy really nice properties in Thailand or the Philippines, for example. Whereas right now, I'd be able to buy just one studio and it may not be the very best property. I might have to give up some concessions on certain areas. But if I save up, I can buy two really nice condos in the same building so I can live in one, manage the other, and get rental income and be in a place that, say, for example, has a gym in the building, which will be very motivating for me. Yeah, I think that's really what I would like to do in the future. And this makes more sense from a financial perspective. And more from a personal perspective, I also don't have the motivation or discipline that I think is required yet, as I still spend too much time on social media and YouTube and think it'll be healthy to go back to work for 2 more years, improve my learning in America, where the business world is the highest standard, in my opinion, improve my finances, as I mentioned, and most importantly, become disciplined with a boss in a few more years of working in that corporate life before I'm comfortable being on my own and making my own income for the rest of my life. A few different sort of thought processes behind it, but also it's going to be less hours than a bank. So I'm going to have the time to work on my side hustles and work on the things that I was looking to work on in my free time anyway. That was really, I think that's like the best scenario right now is finding another job that pays well in finance, but it's a bit less hours. So then in my free time, I can work on my side hustles and start laying the seeds and the foundation for then in, say, 2 years, I can buy a property, maybe work virtually, or maybe if my side hustles kick off, I can work on those virtually, I was saying in finance, or work on my own sort of side hustles if the income becomes replacement level or at least near it, because you don't need that much to live off of in these countries. So that's how I'm viewing things from a life perspective. I think actually banking really, I thought that it would improve my discipline because I'm constantly working and I'll get used to the work ethic of working 100 hours a week. But it actually did the opposite, where I notice this happens a lot for people in banking, actually, where they become addicted to social media because they're essentially one, they're always accustomed to always checking their phone whenever they get a message because they have to. And then two, you work so much that when you get home, you all you want to do is just decompress and lie down and relax before you get your next ping, before you get your next email. So you end up just opening your phone and going on social media, seeing what people are doing because you've been so disconnected from it for so long. Maybe you're working for 48 hours straight or something like that. And I've seen that with other YouTubers that did banking, as well as some of my coworkers mentioned that too. And in terms of the discipline as well, you're always being told what to do in banking. You're never using your creative muscles, taking initiative, etc. Hey, it just cut off there. I'm not sure where I left off. I think my internet just disconnected. This condo doesn't have Wi-Fi, so I'm actually just connecting to my phone where I was setting up a hotspot using the data from the local SIM card that I bought at 7-Eleven here. To go where I left off, I've noticed that a lot of people in banking get addicted to social media because they spend so much time working and disconnected from their social life, and they're just so exhausted that when they do have the free time, they end up just resorting to opening up the phone and looking at that and just scrolling just to decompress a little. I found myself doing that, as well as I think I mentioned before it cut off that you're so used to being glued to your phone and responding 24/7 to notifications because you have to in banking. You have to respond like that, just on sales and trading, whatever it may be. Anyone who's professional in business knows this. You always respond super fast to messages. So it translates over to notifications for your phone too, like when you get notifications from a message on social media or whatever it may be. And it's just really unhealthy. But then on the other side of things too, it doesn't build your discipline, given that you're just because you're working so many hours, it doesn't mean you have a better discipline because you're not actually using your creative muscles. You're not of your brain. You're not actually taking initiative, despite they might say they want someone who takes initiative in the interview because they're just telling you what to do. It's the MD tells the VP what they want. The VP tells the associate and the analyst what they want, and the associate delegates what the analyst is going to do as part of that. So you're always just being told what to do, what the assumptions should be changed to in Excel, what the PowerPoint should look like, etc. And basically all of your work ethic is not through any buildup of willpower or buildup of anything relating to discipline or motivation. It's just always someone telling you what to do. So it's like a coach taking you and doing things in the gym your whole life or for many years, right? For 2 years. And then all of a sudden there's no coach anymore. Like when you quit your job and then you're just like, oh, I've never gone to the gym on my own before. That's what it feels like. It's difficult to maintain that motivation and that discipline. It actually erodes the discipline, in my opinion. I do have friends that were able to maintain it, but I think it's not the same for everyone. But I've definitely been someone where I felt like my discipline actually declined. Where in college, I was responsible for getting these jobs and applying and doing all these things. So a lot of my time spent was on my own. When you're in the internship, you have a lot to prove, and people don't want to allocate as much time to interns. So you make up your own work and do things to impress the people that have hired you. But in banking, it's the opposite. You're just a monkey, right? An Excel monkey, PowerPoint monkey being told what to do. Yeah, part of the reason is banking had the opposite effect that I thought it would. And now I want to get back into corporate America to have a little bit of discipline in work life. So I'm not completely useless, but then also some free time to work on things myself. And I think having that balance will be important. Yeah, I got the buy side offer. That's why I'm considering going back to the buy side as well. And I'll keep you guys updated as things progress. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you guys are interested in hearing more about my story. I'll also do some more helpful videos that are more tangible, technical, etc. in the future. So stay tuned.